Dr. Arun Pratap Sikarwar. He has so much of knowledge, not limited to biology, physics, astronomy, planets, and so much knowledge. He's an avid reader, reads. I must say he's not reading, he's actually absorbing like a sponge from various books. And I encourage all our participants to imbibe some of his knowledge that he's going to share today with you. And an important introduction about the topic that he has chosen is that we all understand that for every nation, resources are important. And human resource is the most important resource. And for human resource to act or to contribute, you need a healthy human resource. And a healthy human resource is directly linked to the public health. Any pandemics can seriously hamper your human resource that we have seen during COVID times. And that's how Arun is going to tell you more about the health and economics behind it. And he is at this moment assistant professor at the Albagh Educational Institute, Agra. He's an educator and scientist of cognitive science, neuropsychology, and brain biology. He did PhD in biochemistry in 2008 at the Department of Molecular Immunology and Microbiology with Professor KVR Reddy and at our institute. And he has been a research associate at JNCSR Bangalore, and then he did diploma in Indian patent law and practice at Bangalore, and then postdoctoral associate he was at Aarhus University, Denmark, and then postdoctoral associate in neurosciences in 2014 at Weill Cornell Medicine, Qatar, and he did MBA in education administration in 2014 from Symbiosis, Pune. He's a nominated speaker for TEDx Talks and a resource person to UGC HRDC Center at JNU, secretary of Kalam Center, invited by various media houses. He's on TV many times for live sessions, telecasts, and debates on mental health and stress. And not to delay further, over to you, Arun.
Thank you, madam. I'm so happy that I'm joining to NIRCH, where I did my PhD. I took the topic on a holistic way, like how a country should be ready in the near future whenever such kind of pandemics happens, unfortunately again. So the topic, vaccination-induced herd or hybrid immunity, a potent armor against pandemics and bioterrorism. Let me have my association with this immunology, and I'm sure some of you would be attending this presentation right now, although Dr. Reddy sir is now superannuated. So after having my remembrance of NIRCH and immunology lab, so every day in the world there are some anniversary, birthday, or any memorable days. On 24th of April it used to be the World Malaria Day, and after a few days on 29th April it shall be World Immunology Day. We are after 3 years of COVID-19 disease that has catapulted whole humanity over the globe so much. This year's theme of Day of Immunology is Immunology Talks to Public Health. So being public science communicator over televisions or through newspaper or magazines, I want to take very holistic and easy and supple topic of this immunology of COVID-19 and how a country should face in upcoming problems. As you all know that in a medical college there are more than 14 departments. Human physiology have digestive system, cardiovascular system, integumentary. Similarly, there is nervous system, so it is the master organ, and immune system is for the defense system, like how a person can survive the whole life expectancy as much as possible without getting any disease or unfortunate death. So these two systems are very important for nervous system that controls your body, coordinate your messages and make you to live as long as possible, and immune system to keep you safe. So during the COVID-19 pandemic from March 2022 till today, like almost 3 years have been passed, and we had a very tough time of fear and awe of COVID-19 infection. that has done a lot of casualties, lot of pessimism. Not only biologists but even non-biologists. Like I can say, bada pav wala. Like I can remember the Mumbai with bada pav or chai wala. They also know the meanings of immunology nowadays, as Professor Chiplankar also explained. After COVID-19, immunology is a now buzzword. So immunology has its origin in the study of how the body protects itself against infectious diseases caused by 5 kinds of microorganisms, and these are viruses, bacteria, protozoa, fungi, and helminths and worms. After these, 2 are most notorious: viruses and bacteria related to the human health. Okay, so believe it or not, at least every day we unknowingly take up to 1 million microorganisms, including fungi, to our body. Okay, it means there's something inside our body that keep us safe. It means we are every time under the influence of viruses, bacteria, fungi, and much more in the environment. And this load of pathogens or bacteria, viruses, or microorganism, I can say, depends on the environment, such as humidity, rainfall, solar radiation, and carbon dioxide level in the environment. And you can think of having flu when there's rain, or when the season is changing, like summer to winter or so, how we get infected with the cold and flu and other diseases. So I take to my students of UG and PG how this immune system is similar to like an army or soldiers. So immune cells are the soldiers that Rishikesh has explained very nicely just now. So immune system of the body is like a defense system or army of police that sentinel each and every second or moment to keep our body safe. Until like yesterday evening, when I was on the COVID-19 World Health Organization site, up to 0.763 billion people have confirmed COVID-19 in last 3 years or so. It means 1 upon 10. I can say like up to 7.5 billion people, 0.76 have confirmed COVID-19 interaction, and almost 7 million or 70 lakh people have been died so far, as per the government records, by this COVID-19. Now, during the COVID-19 pandemic, there were a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Over some television, I was explaining this when the COVID-19 was full-fledged, that there's a misinformation in the environment that inadvertently people used to tell and keep on sending here to there, just like WhatsApp university messages. But disinformation is deliberately spread, and malinformation during the COVID-19 was specifically to harm. Okay, so these 3 things were leading lot of time consumption of public in the COVID-19, that led to the lot of stress and anxiety, even suicides, even family conflicts, and a great loss of education, because education institutes were closed. But led to the onset of yoga and meditation throughout the world. Although in 2015 International Yoga Day started getting celebrated on 21st of June, but during the COVID-19, because it's a respiratory disease, so pranayama was very much famous. And it also led to good news for Ayurveda, that is phyto compounds or phytomedicines used during the COVID-19 that were immunoregulatory or immunoprotectant, I can say. And a lot of Kada and concoctions, these were in the market, that led to the onset and revival of Indian civilization of knowledge or traditional knowledge of phyto compounds during the COVID-19. So the rationale behind my topic is COVID-19 the last pandemic? I mean, is it the last, and now we are so mature and human civilization is having so much control over medical science that there will be no pandemic in the future, or there will be no endemic or pandemic? And my answer is no. It is not the last pandemic, and it is just start probably. There will be certainly the medical science is not yet matured enough. Even though US and UK and even some other countries are doing very well, and they are coming up with a lot of immunotherapeutics, how to keep human survival on priority in the world, having disruptive technologies and ever evolving geopolitics of hate and animosity of greedy countries to show off their superiority. Although I can say there are a lot of United Nations, G20 and Quad and several treaties of different countries, but the reality lies that many countries are polarized now, especially after Ukraine and Russia conflict, and probably who knows that next conflict will be in Southeast Asia. It could be somewhere near Taiwan or Indian Ocean. We don't know. And and we are also having disruptive technologies day by day. Like Richard Moore's principle says that every 2 or 3 years, technology becomes double and size becomes half. So there are a lot of changes are happening. And nowadays there are no conventional war of, like I can say, army and air force. It is through the satellite or drones. Right now drones are working very well in such conflict. Now there's need of herd immunity and hybrid immunity to be achieved as early as possible to safeguard people whenever there's an unfortunate onset of pandemic or endemic or forced endemic or pandemic. Even there's a lot of stories behind that COVID-19 was man-made, okay, and there are a lot of theories behind that, a lot of proofs have been coming up. So now let me take you the difference between endemic, epidemic, and pandemic. Endemic is like localized in the foci here and there. Epidemics very severe, but more than endemic, but restrained to one geophysical location over the globe, and pandemic throughout the world. So pandemics is when epidemics occurs worldwide, and COVID-19 was one of them. And we all are fortunate that we have come across last 3 years to know about this pandemic. And this COVID-19 pandemic was the 6th pandemic after flu of 1920, Spanish flu. So these are 5 microorganisms very notorious related to the medical science: bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungus, and helminths. So it leads to the infectious diseases and disorders. Many organisms live in or on our body, like ectoparasites remain on body, however many are inside. However, I am not saying that all the microorganisms are notorious to a human body or medical science. There's gut microbiome because it comes under neurosciences, and gut feelings also, the term comes up, that there's a healthy microbiome is very necessary for our brain and mind and our thinking and our mood. Okay, so I'm not blaming all the microbiome is notorious and detrimental to medical biology perspective, but under certain conditions some microorganisms may cause diseases. Some infectious disease may be passed from one person to other person, and there are a lot of stories of zoonotic diseases also. Some are transmitted by insects or other animals. We may get others by consuming contaminated food or water. And in my opinion and in my research, maybe the next pandemic could be food or water associated. It could, other than this present ongoing airborne disease of COVID-19. This infographic shows so far, like so many pandemics have happened. In 21st century, there were 3 Ebola, MERS, that is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, and severe acute respiratory syndrome in the 21st century. Then in 20th century, it used to be the Spanish flu that led to up to 50 million deaths. And before that also in the history, like 1520 smallpox, then plague of Justinian led to onset of, like, in 5th century, another way. Remember, our COVID-19, this present ongoing COVID-19 has led up to 7 million deaths. So it is sizable amount. And this is the 6th pandemic after Spanish flu. And there are great chances that every year, statistically up to like 2% chances are there that another new disease or pandemic may come up. So this way, if a person is living like 70 years of age, so the chances statistically that up to 50% more chances one can get interaction or get such pandemic. So communicable diseases, infectious and transmissible diseases are illness that result from the infection, presence and growth of pathogenic or capable of causing disease biological agents in an individual. And some diseases under not control of human mankind is neglected tropical and vector-borne disease. Tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is bacterial disease, obviously. Coronavirus, viral, dengue virus, hepatitis, climate change and health, measles, HIV, AIDS, all this, So a number of communicable diseases can be significant health threat to the local regional and global level lead to the epidemics and pandemics. Now, sovereignty of a country is very much important, and that leads to the variety of like almost aggregation of some 200 countries over the globe. Okay, and the concept lays out basic rules for how countries are allowed to interact with one another. In principle, it means countries get to control what happens inside their border and can't interfere in what happens elsewhere. This shows the sovereignty. This is the also hallmark of United Nations. But it is not so, or in reality, in practical. Many countries keep interfering other countries, and that is the bitter truth. Because entropy is part of the physics, and so the world will also be, having arm races and financial gains by some clever countries. So although sovereignty is hallmark, but in practical it is not so. There are also greed of expansionism and super powerfulness by some countries, especially in Asia also. Some countries are very notorious and known for this expansionism and to show and flex of super powerful nature. So COVID-19 pandemic is one of the biggest challenges that humans have faced in 21st century. It has been a painful reminder that no one is safe until everyone is safe. You remember, it's very important sentence, no one is safe until everyone is safe. COVID-19 has demonstrated in stark terms that a pandemic is a complex phenomenon fueled by a multitude of diverse, interconnected factors and revealed deeply rooted structural weaknesses and insufficiencies in our health, socio-economic, environmental and political system. And you might remember how India was helping the countries, especially African countries and other countries, by giving Covaxin and Covishield those vaccines. Although there was school of thought running that why not we should safeguard our public first, but government think of this empathy and they were helping other countries simultaneously. So present pandemic is an opportunity for better preparedness for the next pandemic, if any. So it's true. So being better prepared for the next infectious threat requires a mindset shift and the adoption of approaches different to what we have used this time. Foresight can support the transition from emergency response to proactive infectious threat planning and management. Right now, because of COVID, up to 2% GDP has been spent by Government of India. And we are expecting that within few years or so, up to 3% will be spent over health support in the country. But India has come up with like 145 crore as the number one country in the human population. Now, how to control such pandemic? First way is prevention is better than the reaction, or prevention is better than the cure. Global action is needed. Real-time monitoring of any unknown disease is necessary. Freely and honest sharing of medical data should also be adopted by all the countries, and that will be done by the World Health Organization and other verticals of United Nations, that they should share data honestly. However, it was not honest in COVID-19, that everyone knows. Microbes are key part of the wildlife diversity and often drive population dynamic that already I have explained. But the greedy nature of human being is affecting the land degradation and habitat loss. Now, habitat loss and land degradation is very much affecting the microorganisms in the nature. Recently, since last 1 month, and I was over on television just few days back, all of a sudden, a dog's bite has become so severe that dogs are biting to death, several human beings. So genetic spillover is also one of the problem. COVID-19 was famous because of bat. Bat was having effect of genetic spillover, and that led to the COVID-19. So there are up to 1.7 million undiscovered viruses, and up to 40% of them can infect mammals and birds, including human beings. So there are quite chances that after 1.7 million, several of them can become fatal to mankind and be pathogenic. So how to combat this unfortunate sudden onset of an epidemic or pandemic? So by transmission, we can stop the transmission, or we can use the treatment, or by giving therapeutic drugs, or we can safeguard the public, remaining public, whomsoever has not got the disease or death, by giving vaccination. Now, vaccination is given by several ways, like by protein subunit, inactivated virus, or some other ways. So, how many years it takes to for a drug to become available for any use? Like recently, when COVID-19 was just initiated, like there was no therapeutic drug available because it takes up to 10 to 15 years, including all the three phases of clinical trials. It's a lengthy procedure that everyone knows, and 1 out of 10,000 chemical compounds from the chemistry hardly reaches up to the 3 or 4 phases of clinical trials and become a commercially available drug. And many of this, in a triangle, gets succumbed off during this period. So in the COVID-19 pandemic, ivermectin was the first, drug repurposing drug that doctors used to give in a hope that it was giving positive result for getting treated from COVID-19 infection. Similarly, in the second and third, phase of COVID-19, remdesivir injection was quite, famous. And there was a lot of black marketing of remdesivir injection, and people were spending up to 1 lakh, even though it was drug repurposed. And there was no such report that it was very much, COVID-19 specific. But even people were using because we were helpless and we were not having any solution. So COVID-19 has, made this vaccinology a separate science, and now governments are considering vaccinology is important aspect. So like Covaxin was inactivated virus. Similarly, mRNA, DNA-based vaccines also came up in the market. However, Pfizer story is very unfortunate and shocking. So SARS-CoV-2 vaccine needs like immunogenicity, and so spike proteins were, the main, target by which this antibody was made in several ways. These, other than bacteria and viruses, like fungi are also one of the challenging thing for pandemics or endemics, it being forced upon by some clever country. But panfungal vaccine is incredibly challenging to formulate, and no successful vaccine available in the market so far. Maybe because fungal cells are eukaryotic cells and humans are also eukaryotic, and probably this is beyond my expertise in the immunology, that how so far vaccines are not available for fungal pathogens like Candida neoformans or Candida or Aspergillus fumigatus. But there is a quite danger that these fungal diseases can be used as a bioterrorism or related to any unconventional war in the future. So modes of onset of epidemics and pandemics. So the modes could be air, water, food, vector-borne like mosquito, or exchange of bodily fluid. Right now, this COVID-19 is associated with the air, and next threat could be through the water-borne disease also. Okay, we do not know, but it could be a possibility. And vector-borne diseases like malaria and elephantiasis, etc., we have already come across in our textbooks. So next threat could be through the water-borne pandemic. Now you remember, there's in Asia there's a Himalaya mountain range, and several northern India rivers, they originate from the Tibet. And you already know that who owns Tibet right now, even though it was an independent country before 1950. How and why it is being taken over by some country, and why especially northern India, Pakistan also is having, Bhutan, Bangladesh, I like several rivers coming from this side, from north to south, come from there. In southern India is having their own rivers, so probably they are having less danger. But in my opinion, northern India having especially Indo-Gangetic, Yamuna and Satluj, these rivers are having, can have an impact in and can have an importance in this epidemic or pandemic in near future or so. Air we need every second, and water we need every 1 or 2 hours, or I can say few hours. So remember, water is also very much necessary for survival of human being. Food one can omit for days also. Food can be changed from here to there, but there is no substitute of water and air, remember. So these are two important aspects related to any pandemic or epidemic in near future. This idiom comes very much, frequently, all is fair in love and war. So like 50 years or before, there used to be 1-to-1 fight or soldiers to soldier, and they fight one by one. Nowadays, you can see a lot of missiles, getting fired, or drones going and taking over as a payload those bombs. And in near future, there could be war on the space by affecting the satellites, by affecting the transmission, by affecting the communication between a country. That could be possibility. So India would have now probably very soon, other than Navy, Air Force, and Army, to as a space army. And who knows, in near future also there will be mind crisis, or like are you minding your mind, or you minding, is it minding you? I mean, people will hijack the mind, okay? Like Neuralink project, you might have heard of, that can be negatively used to affect the mind. So there will be no free will in near future. It could be in 100 years or so. So that time the war will be having worst by this way also. Now, coming to many infectious diseases such as measles and chickenpox can be prevented by vaccines. Frequent and thorough hand washing and practicing hygiene help us from most of the infectious diseases, and that is the hallmark of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan also. That is leading to cleanliness drive by the government of India, and it is giving positive results throughout the country. If there is a cleanliness in the environment, so the viral and bacterial load becomes minimum or permissible, or threshold level. It will reduce down, so there will be less chances of at least airborne or waterborne diseases. So this thing is going on correctly at the right time. There was one article showing emerging trends of edible vaccine therapy for combating human disease, especially COVID-19, pros and cons. I mean, this topic related several other articles I have studied in just last few days, where researchers are doing efforts to develop an effective, reliable, and easily available vaccine candidate to protect against COVID-19 and any other future pandemic or endemics, like if there's any health situation comes up. And in last 3 years or so, more than 200 vaccines have been worked upon. Several have been a successful story. Several are in the market, and indeed vaccines have saved the humanity, I can say. So even though therapeutic drug is still not available so far, but vaccines have led to the herd immunity, and that led to our survival. Plants are also considered as a potential source for the production of monoclonal antibodies, vaccines, drugs, and immunomodulatory proteins, as well as a bioreactor factories for the bulk protein production. Nowadays, because plants are associated with the mankind since antiquity, and plants are very much part of our amino acids, our building blocks, or our food. So why not this immune system or vaccinology can be incorporated through the plants for the mankind. So the characteristic of a vaccine comply with the scientific evidence is enlightened that plants are the rich source of oral vaccine, which can be given either by eating the edible parts of the plants or by oral administration of highly refined proteins. The use of plant-based edible vaccine is an emerging trend as it possesses minimum or no side effect compared with the synthetic vaccines. So imagine a situation that by the use of genetic engineering, by the use of plant biotechnology, by the use of vaccinology, we can get immunization of a disease through these plant products. That could be a fruit, that could be salad, that could be vegetable or so. Now edible vaccine will be better option because these conventional vaccines are needed with a cold chain. It also need syringes, and syringes also need to be very much new every time. So it leads to the plastic wastage or so. So I just forecast that why not it will be easy and quick delivery of vaccine through the plant-based. Although this research is in infancy, recently to the NITI Aayog, the health section of NITI Aayog, I have sent one proposal that why not NITI Aayog should ask the ICR and other bodies, they must start asking the proposals for edible vaccines. So let's have one opportunity that can be used as a quick vaccination or taking herd immunity along with conventional vaccines of these intramuscular or other potent candidates of vaccinations. So now it needs genetic engineering and biotechnology knowledge, plant biology knowledge, and vaccinology. And one can use, desired gene leading to the production of the protein. That could be, suppose in case of a virus, it is capsid protein for the COVID-19, then transgenic crops, and then it could be in the form of tomato, cucumber, carrot, lettuce. I mean, that is part and parcel of our day-to-day food habits, and then it can give a very quick round of vaccination and herd immunity. Now, recently, just last month, Government of India and Prime Minister Office has come up with this inception of Ind-CEPI, that is India Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. India to invest in developing any vaccine within 100 days. And Prime Minister Office has made sure that within 100 days, would it be possible for our scientific community, especially the scientists of you people, ICMR and DBT, that we can come up with the solution of vaccine formation within 100 days. So even government is going to take help of ICAR and Director General of medical research, and how to make generics and vaccines on a larger scale. And this is very much urgent need of today's for the Government of India to safeguard our 145 crore of people in future. Okay, and government is very serious for that. Now also in my one of discussions with the Government of India Secretary, I told about there's a need of real-time water pathogen check alongside water pollution in the northern India rivers. So I gave my hypothesis that there should be real-time check, and nowadays there's no need of human-based laboratories. There could be Internet of Things, IoT-based remote sensing technologies or probes inserted here and there in the northern India, especially in those rivers, because the water is coming from Tibet, and we do not know if accidentally or if there's any spillover happens or so, or intentionally if something bad happens, at least we can avert and avoid any waterborne pandemics in near future. And there is no need even for mankind to be there checking. Even data can be taken by the Internet of Things. Now, another important work right now is coming, IOMT. So this umbrella term of IoT changed and beyond to IOMT, that is Internet of Medical Things. Now, Internet of Medical Things is a collection of medical devices and applications that connect to healthcare information technology systems through online computer network. Now, almost all of us, even I'm having my smartwatch, having a health app, and this data goes to the internet, and this data can be given to a physician. It can be shared with the elder people. It could be, your father, mother, or family member, or caretaker. And this way, real-time health monitoring is under the strict vigilance. Okay, and nowadays even this actigraphy watches are having the data of a hormonal, like it can tell you the stress, it can anxiety, it could be in a prognostic way. It can also relate to early diagnosis of a disease, there's any probable disease. Recently, Strand Biotechnology has been taken over by Reliance, and they are going to set up like $145 exome sequencing of human beings, and this exome sequencing will be used for ancestry generation of mankind, and also to health predictions. So I can presume that IOMT, along with just like US is having 23andMe, so India will have probably this very soon by the Reliance. One is to give only saliva, and the saliva will give the then exome sequencing, and then giving the lot of data of the health perspective and predictions of future. So this all can be incorporated together, can be used for real-time check of health. Now, just last month or so, Ava app has come up in our mobile phones. It is Ayushman Bharat Health Account, Ava. Even my phone is having. Now this Ava will have all the data of a person's medical history or medical examinations or pathology reports, and this Ava app will be synced with the hospital. So if a person is moving like Delhi to Chennai or Thiruvananthapuram, anywhere, so a person is not needed carrying the medical data. Rather, by Ahava app, one can sooner or later it will be joined with Aadhaar card also. So this way one can have a check on human health in real time for all the people. Now, there is quite danger, and there's a second school of thought saying that why a person should disclose the medical data that could be used for bad purpose. But every time these disruptive technologies come at the cost of some disadvantage. Even though like online payment nowadays is having very good implication, like 19% people are working happily with this, but there's quite little chances of bank forgery. So probably this real-time data monitoring maybe somebody will use for any notorious purpose also. So the take-home message from my lecture, and because it was not related to very basics of immunology, it was more on top-down approach. So there's a dynamic global geopolitics will move from conventional wars of army, navy, and air force to non-conventional war strategies such as bioweapons in near future. It is inevitable truth. I can't say, but it's bitter truth. COVID-19 was airborne pandemic, and who knows, next could be waterborne pandemic also. There is urgent need of check systems of river, especially in northern India, to keep a vigil over any suspected pathogen or disease-causing microorganism. Just like pollution control is being monitored nowadays, so other than pollution, we can check the pathogen load also. Internal security of a nation would need not only soldiers but medical researcher and health scientists. So medical researcher and health scientists will also be called as a health soldier, I can say. There should be another term. They are not less than a soldier. Surveillance system of human disease should be on priority. Vaccinology lab should be set up throughout the country, at least in the north, east, west, and all the directions, and especially in the major cities here and there. Use of online platforms until necessary be adopted to avoid person-to-person contacting. I mean, just like I'm having my presentation in online mode, rather avoiding to go to Mumbai because it would have taken 1 or 2 days, can be done like that, at least in today's world. And use of holistic medications, including Ayurveda and yoga and meditation, should be the part of our day-to-day life. That will also lead to the betterment of our immune system and better fighting capability of any disease. And it is proven fact that Ayurveda, yoga and meditation have beneficial effect, and that has given very positive results in the COVID-19 pandemic. And our country was not that worst unlike other countries. Meditation affect through the hypothalamus to pituitary to all endocrine glands, and there are several reports that meditation affect our thinking and mood and our mind, and that mind also lead to the positive effect of counteracting any disease or getting rid of disease or getting free of disease very quickly. Because in COVID-19 many people have story that where those people were very strong enough mind-wise, they couldn't get disease and they were happy. So with this poem of alma mater and my respect to my alma mater NIRCH, I would like to say thank you to invite me, and I'm happy I could join NIRCH today. Thank you so much.